Page 30, Greatest Love of All. 4/4 time signature, 2 sharps in the key signature. This is in the key of D major. Make sure you can play the scale for D major. And you really ought to also do the scale for B minor because it has 2 sharps in the key signature. Just do them both. Knowing what notes are in the scale, black keys are involved, it really helps when it comes to playing the music because then you know which black keys are involved. I'd like to take this one hand at a time. This rhythm is something else. Take a look at the first measure. This is something about the way they print music. You've probably already noticed it, but for the sake of the ones who haven't, I'm going to explain it. They tend to group the notes. You see the 16th notes and the 8th notes are beamed in various ways. They tend to group them or beam them according to the beat or the feeling of the beat or the feeling of the piece. And a lot of times in 4/4 time it'll be done by the beat. So you'll see the first 2 16th notes are by themselves because they're finishing up beat 1, and then the 2 8th notes are beat 2, and then 4 16th notes are beat 3, and then 2 more 8th notes for beat 4. It's done by the beat. It's just a way of organizing the music, and it kind of helps when you go to try and figure it out what's going on when, because it helps to know where the beat is. There's 1-E-anda, 2-E-anda, or whatever method you use to count. That's the method I use at the beginning here. 1-E-anda, 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 2-E-anda, 1-E-anda, 2-E-anda, 1-E-anda. That's just it. First measure again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So you don't have to do the 1-E-anda. I'm lazy, I don't like doing it. But once you get it, of course, then you just feel it. But you can feel the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. So forth. And that's really the kind of the way rhythm works. For the most part, you're always going to find exceptions, but let's not go there. Let's just stay focused on this piece. Now, when we have all these repeated notes here, I don't like using the same finger on them. Some people like it, some people prefer it, other people, like me, don't. I'm going to use a 3-1, 3-1. I'm just going to alternate between the two because I can stay relaxed. And in order for it to come out right, because I need it to end with the 3rd finger on the last F sharp. So the 2nd finger is ready for the E. I need to start with the thumb, not 3rd finger. So I'm going to go 1, 3, 1. And just alternate them. And I'm going to do that every time. 1, 3. Bring the 3rd finger down. Same thing in measure 3. I'm going to alternate 1 and 3. I'm going to start with the thumb. And then 5th finger. Now measure 5. Look out. 1 and 2 and 3 and. 3 E and a 4 E. So watch out on that. Again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Thumb. The reason on measure 6 that we do the thumb is so we can reach the F, C sharp a little easier. Then say that's a stretch. There, so thumb, then here. I know with the phrasing you can lift up, but when I first finger something, I like to try and finger it in a way that I can play it all connected. That forces me to find a fingering that works playing it connected, and that has served me very, that's the fingering style of all the teachers I've had. That's the one that's had the most, I learned that one in college. In fact, the last teacher I had was the one that taught me that. Just connect everything with the fingers first. You can always put in the phrasing and stuff later, but once you get the fingering down, it'll be more solid. So here, just reach up. You reach down. Now if that's too much of a stretch, then don't use 3rd finger, use 4th finger. You can scrunch up here if you need to. It kind of depends on how big your hands are. I don't really want to spoon feed you all of this. You can read the notes and the rhythms, and for the most part their fingering is fine. Like on measure 11, you have repeated E's. I put a thumb on the last one because that enables me to reach that C sharp more easily. So I mean, you don't always have to use alternate fingers on repeated notes, but consider it. Now, let's go down to measure 21, where you're ending it up here. The Forienda. Forienda. Make sure those are even. And then here, and they're using the same fingering on all these chords. That's okay, we can do that. There's other fingerings, but this is fine. Left hand, well, left hand's not much going on. You got a bunch of eighth note or half notes. And on the A sharp, I prefer a second finger there. When I have this kind of a thing, I tend to use the second finger on the black keys and the thumb on the white. That's something to consider. So it may work, it may not, but here it works. Second finger on the A sharp. Here. And then they want thumb. I don't recommend that. Again, this is awkward to me, so I'm going to use second finger, it's there. And then I can do a 1-3 here for the second one. So it's 2, this measure 3. A lot of numbers in it. Okay, I'm going to use second finger on the first one, and then 3-1. And they have a thumb here, thumb. You don't need a thumb on the F sharp. Just use second finger, it's there. F sharp. That's okay. Then measure 6 is the chords. Hopefully you can get these chords all right. Don't worry about what they sound like. We'll deal with that later. It's here. And they want thumb again. I still like the second finger. And on measure 8, you're here, and then come down. Stay in this position. 2, 3, 1, 2. I didn't move my hand. I got all that stuff in one hand position. Then you have a 1 beat rest to come up for measure 10. And both of these are black keys, you can do it. You can also use a 2-4 or 5-2, or there's other fingerings. Pick one. Just make sure it's one you can connect the notes. And I like thumb on that one. It's like going from measure 11 to 12. I'm going from here. I can use fourth finger on the F sharp, it's there. If I want. Put the hands together, let's see what happens. Now again, you're going to hesitate all over the place. That's okay. We just want, when do the hands go down at the same time? It's here. Anyway, you go through and put the hands together and then go back through it a few hundred times and slowly get out the hesitations. Keep it slow if you have to, but that beat, try and feel that beat as you're going through and keep it steady. 1, 2, 3, 4, and. Just keep it slow, it's fine. I don't want to quit playing, I get into it and I won't stop. So you go through and put the hands together, and then we'll think about the articulation. It isn't a lot. They have phrasing marked, but there's rests in between them pretty much, so you gotta lift up anyway. The left hand, just connect it as best you can. You can't, but do the best you can. They do have accents there toward the end, the bottom of page 31. These chords are accented. I don't like the idea of having accents on loud notes, because an accent on a piano just brings it up a little bit. On some other instrument, it might make sense. But here, you're just playing them loud. Just play them loud. Don't worry about accenting them. I mean, you don't want to get too loud here, so just play them loud. Just, they have to be louder than the non-accented notes. which is very few, but okay. Speed-wise, it's slow, and it needs to be slow with all these 16th notes. You find recordings of it, and with me, it depends on how much coffee or wine I've had to drink as to how slow it's going to go. Don't follow me. You make it yours. If you were going to sing it, how fast would you sing it? You know, it's not a fast piece. Dynamics, well, they don't do a lot with dynamics. You're sort of loud at the beginning, and that's the right hand. Not loud, just sort of keep the left hand soft. We want to hear the right hand, not the left here. Now you get down to the bottom of the page, last measure. Now you come down a little bit to sort of soft. That makes the left hand very soft. We want to hear the right hand, and it's sort of soft. Then measure 16, you go back up moderately loud. And finally, at measure 26, you crescendo up to loud. Accented notes, in my opinion, leave out the accents. Just play these loud. So forth to the end. We'll do a little more on the accents a little bit later in the video, but right now that's what I'm suggesting. Then, of course, for the pedal, it's not all pedaled, and that's important. Remember, if you're going to pedal, pedal for a reason, or don't pedal at all. At the beginning, we want this subdued. We want this kind of quieter, cleaner, even though it's sort of loud. We don't want to connect all that with pedal. Yuck. But when you get to measure 5, it's a contrast. Now, suddenly, everything's connected. Okay, measure what, 9 at the bottom, lift up with the left hand. We want to hear the rest in the right hand. The left hand doesn't come up until you play the C sharp. But I'm lifting the pedal with the right hand. And then, now when you get to measure 13, I'd suggest you pedal this the same way as you did measure 9. It's basically the same thing. In other words, I'm lifting up with the right hand. I'm not pedaling the last beat here. So here the left hand's staying down for the whole measure before it had a rest. Doesn't matter. I'm still lifting up and I'm not pedaling the 8th notes. And then you can pedal. You have to be careful on these 8th notes because you don't want them to get blurry. Measure 16. Here we're sort of putting up with it. They don't last long. The blurriness doesn't last long, and we're starting to build up a little bit in intensity. And you can get away with blurriness when it starts building up in intensity. Now measure 22 with the accented notes. Change it with... There is an interpretive style some people use, not just piano but other instrumentals. When you have note after note accented like they do, in measure 22, all 3 notes are accented here, is they will put a little silence between the notes. Well, if you do that and pedal it, you have to pedal with the keys. It goes down and up with them each time. When you get a note in between, now you're not going to separate those. So you can, if you want, separate them. Here, but that's interpretation. If you don't like it that way, then connect them. If you're connecting them, then make an overlapping pedal like we've been doing, where that notes go down first and then the pedal changes after you do the notes. I didn't explain that very well, but I've explained that style of pedaling in thousands of videos so far. Hopefully you're getting the idea if you've watched very many videos of mine.